Hello, everyone. Welcome to Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust Technical Advisory Council meeting on Jan 15th. Before we get started, a couple of quick notes for everyone on the call. I know we are all familiar, but we'll go ahead and speak about it. So we have participants from across the globe, across several organizations, and we may also have participants from our competing organizations. So we all must abide by antitrust policy, which governs um, like across the globe, as well as like Linux Foundation strongly believes in that. And the next thing is like just as we participate from across the globe and across organizations, we may have cultural differences. So we all respect each other on this call, and we welcome everyone to participate in these open meetings. So with that, let's jump into today's set of discussion items or like announcements before we go into actual discussion items. So as a standard reminder, we have a developer newsletter that goes out to every developer who have subscribed. And this is a large set of developer community, which the email thread or this email list gets kicked off every week. And if you have any announcements regarding your project releases, or if you want participation to some of your um, RFCs, or if you have just anything to just talk to the community, wider community, this is an excellent opportunity for you to do so. And it's not that difficult. All you have to do is go there, into the link, takes you to a Confluence page or so, and then go ahead and add your comment into that. That's how easy it is. And the next announcement that we have is for the maintainer days. So we are very close on that. So if you have not already done so, please do speak to your project community, other maintainers within your project, or other project maintainers that you're connected to. Let them know about the maintainer days and make use of this opportunity to collaborate in person. With that, we have another announcement. So we do have Credible workshop coming up on February 18th, and this works out well for majority of the people on the call, and also in US and like across European time zones. And I'm sure like this would also work on the Indian time zones if you have any participants who could be interested in this project or who are looking to get involved with minimal effort and get started with decentralized identity and verifiable credential and the lights of such solution and want to learn how they are enabling this in production use cases, or how the project team is planning for the next set of features within the project. Or if you want to give any feedback to the project team, please do join on this. Don't miss this opportunity. So that brings us to all the announcements that were noted so far. I'll give it to the team. If you have any announcements that you want to bring to rest of the folks, please do um, bring them now. Matthew?
Hi, Aaron. Yeah, just a small thing, but I just wanted to mention, as Paladin's a fairly new project, that we had the second Paladin community call yesterday. So I just wanted to highlight that and just give the community, the TAC, just an update on the fact that that's starting to kind of, I guess, find its stride in terms of regular LFDT project activities. So yeah, just wanted to mention that as a maintainer of Paladin, and yeah, just let you know that that's moving along slowly.
Awesome. Um, Looking forward to highlighting community, bringing in ideas and thoughts into the ecosystem. Thanks,
Yeah,
Matthew.
thanks.
Any other announcements before we move on? I don't see any. So we'll move on to the next agenda item. So we did have a few pending quarterly reports to be reviewed by the Technical Advisory Council of last year, and also requesting review from the current year members so that we get used to what we look for in project reports. And like just before the meeting, we merged one of them, but we did receive TOIP projects report for the Q4. I know like that came in recently, about yesterday or like day before yesterday kind of um, timelines. But if you have not already seen it, I request the TAC members to please do review. And the project team is fairly new to using GitHub tools and use of Git itself. So they are more familiar with um, other tools that they are used to for their specification works. So please do share your feedback, and the pull request is open. And they do have a couple of questions for us, which we can discuss. We'll also keep the pull request open until like we have all reviews in. So a couple of questions that they have within the report for us is they need assistance from LFTT staff in preparation for TOIP specification template with boilerplate formatting and other requirements. So, any thoughts or questions? I think the question is to staff, but if there's any action on the TAC or other members, please do let us know. Rai or David, do you want to look at it maybe at a later point? Dan?
Yeah, I just saw that it came in this morning, so I'll take a look at this in a little deeper way because I've been attending some of the TOIP meetings, I say TOIP, they say Trust over IP, but yeah, I'll see if I can take a look at it and add some comments to it today or tomorrow for next week.
A lot of people say TOIP.
Good. Okay, I'm not the only crazy one.
Yeah, they do. Some of them do as well.
I do as well. So I can reach out to them. I'm just not sure. Yeah, I can reach out to them and see what it is they need.
Thanks, Rai. I believe the second ask is also something that the staff would maybe take a first stab at and do let us know. Maybe also on the third one. Okay, so we'll keep the report open for next week as well. Please do review at your convenience and bring in your thoughts and questions to the community. We will move to the next topic then. Before we continue, I forgot to ask, is there anything that anybody would like to call out from any other pending reports? Okay, I don't see any. So let's move to the next topic. So quick updates on overdue reports from last year. We, as TAG, we did decide that it's okay for Trust over IP team to not submit their Q3 report, and we discussed this in our last meeting. But moving forward, they will be submitting all their reports. And I forgot to also mention that the Trust over IP team really liked the new format that we are requesting for reports. So which has broader questions as opposed to a narrower code contribution kind of asks in the report. So they appreciated that effort. Kudos on that. And of course there's more work that we can do, but yes, there's something that we learned about it. And with calipers, project team has proposed a project under lab. So what that leads to is we will like we can or we may let the project team skip their Q4 report from the last year. I know that the lab proposal came in this time. Any concerns or questions on that?
Now that we have 2 votes, I will go ahead and merge this and make the changes. So thank you, Mr. Brandenburger and Arun for voting on that.
Of course, anytime. So we are can the TAC members agree on that it's okay for us to let go of the project's missing report from Q4, given that project has been proposed to lab? Can we all have thumbs up? If so, okay, I see thumbs up. Perfect. So I did send another reminder to Credible team. They did mention they will submit their missing reports, but I'll also send a note to them that recently TAC came up about a decision that missing reports should not be submitted later than like 2 months or so. I'll get that information sent out to also broader community. Okay. So moving to the next agenda item, which is on reminder on the upcoming reports. I know generally we follow Q1 for annual reports for all the projects, and we do have, as agreed upon, annual reports due for both Fabric and Cacti projects, and this is due on 22nd, which is next week. And for these, we also have a couple of TAC members, one being a primary reviewer and the other person being a secondary reviewer person, assigned against or like volunteered against each of those projects where you don't have a conflict. If you're not already filled the conflict sheet, which project you may have conflict, please do fill it. Otherwise, also if you have any questions or comments on the current volunteering for the projects that you have been assigned to, please do bring them up. Otherwise, looking forward to those reviews coming in from project teams. I shared the link for that on Discord as well as on an email thread. So you should all have access to that link. Okay, so that brings us to the discussion items for today. So, I wanted to spend today's time on goal setting for us. And maybe there are like 3 ways we can bring in, is what I was thinking. One is we go through the retrospection items and inherit any challenges or learnings from the previous TAC, and we get those set as goals for ourselves this year. And the second thing was I went through nomination statements from all the current TAC members and understood what each of those TAC members wanted to bring in to the community, and created broader, what do we say, like broader areas to focus on. And the third one was keep a bucket for innovation and then opportunities where we should invest ourselves in. So keeping these 3 broad areas that we can tackle, I want to open up this floor for the TAG. If you want to bring in any items for from previous retrospection or from the previous TAG committee or council that we had. So the next section will be more interactive. The first part would be more for us to learn from the previous TAG. So I want to hear ideas from the TAG members if you have anything that we can inherit from the previous stack. I see Enrique. Enrique?
Hey, thanks, Arun. Um, I was suggesting maybe not something that we inherit, but something that maybe we reflected on throughout the year and at the end of the year, I think, was around the amount of time the annual reviews can take. I think we ended up with some annual reviews taking over 4 to 5 months probably to get closed out. So I think maybe reflecting on that a little bit around how we can streamline those, how we can make them more efficient, how we can make the calendar of pairings be maybe a shorter duration. I don't know. Some things around that would be good to reflect because we had a really big tax on us as a group, as a TAC, on annual reviews for a long time in the agendas, which led to discussion on other items where we would things like new documentation or new project lifecycle was always getting pushed to the second half of the year. So I just want to make sure this year we can streamline a little bit that process and we can talk about how we can make that happen.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Enrique. So a quick background for TAC members who are new. So a couple of years ago, we adopted this process of annual reviews. Prior to that, we always had quarterly reviews, be it Q1 or Q4 of the year. But with this approach, our thought process was we have a couple of TAC members closely monitor the project and maybe like even join and attend those meetings with the project teams are running and bring them up to speed of anything which is missing, or maybe like capture some of the notes that they are unaware of from governance standpoint that the TAC has been putting forward. At the same time, also like bring up to speed to the rest of the TAC members the new things the project team has been doing, and this was quite successful in terms of TAC members getting deeper insights into the project and spending that effort. However, as Enrique called out, the total time duration that we spent on such a process was a bit too much in the last year. So what I'll do probably is I'll keep making notes of all these discussion items, and towards the end, we'll bring this up and discuss how do we tackle these suggestions, or do we form a task group, task forces around it, or like what do we do about this? So for now, I'll just keep it open and start noting down as we speak. Matthew?
Yeah, thanks, Arun. I guess related to the discussion about the annual reports, there was also a retrospective item around mentoring within the TAC. I think it was on slide 7, one of the latest slides. Possibly assign, left middle, possibly assign mentor for newly elected TAC members. I thought that was an interesting one, and I guess partly this is a question for any new members on the TAC on the call, whether or not, given the timing of the annual reports, being at the start of a TAC term, and the discussion around having mentors, whether or not there was any benefit in combining those two ideas to kind of pair them up. I realize Kevin's got his hand up, so maybe I'll pause there.
Yeah, I think I would personally appreciate having a mentor that I could just check in with biweekly or whatever, every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I think I probably would have found that helpful last year when I started. So I think and personally I'd be very happy to try and help do that. Mentor someone. I don't know if it needs to be more formalized than just people chatting on the TAC Discord channel or DMing each other or something. But yeah, I'd be happy to help with that.
Thank you for the great suggestion, Kevin.
Yeah, I would prefer that it was like a formal assigned mentor rather than just an informal relationship, because otherwise that just like falls through the cracks eventually.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very reasonable point. Yeah.
So maybe if I may ask a bit more, so what would you look for in now that you have been part of TAC for a year? Excuse me. Um, can you give like one or two examples, Matthew?
Yeah. So I think the annual report is a really good one that when you first join the TAC, it does coincide with the beginning of probably one of the most thorough review processes that the TAC goes through. And in a weird way, it almost can, I think, can feel a little bit the wrong way around, because then for maybe the second half of the year or the last three quarters of the year, you're then reviewing quarterly reports, which the reports are kind of lighter, and the review process is a little more lightweight. Whereas the annual reports, you start, it can feel quite a deep end, the deep end kind of experience. I guess that process, if I had someone kind of hand holding me through that, and I know I was a secondary reviewer on one, but I think I was also a primary reviewer on one. Uh, it needn't be someone who is also reviewing the same project necessarily, but just someone who can offer some kind of some context as to what the purpose of that process is. So that's one really concrete example, I guess. More generally, it might be just someone who's your kind of go-to person to reach out with questions that you felt were a bit off topic for the calls, or you just wanted to, you thought of after a call or something. Yeah, those kind of things.
Understood. Thanks, Matthew. Marcus?
I think I like this idea of the mentoring program. However, I was also thinking maybe we don't have to go so far and really assign mentors and mentees here. Why don't we set up, I mean, for our new members, something like random coffee chats or Discord sessions for, I don't know, 20 minutes, and then people can, I mean, new members of the tech can ask their question. What is the view of that other tech member on what are the particular tasks? And then I mean, by that, we build up some relationship, so people are not afraid to reach out to each other anymore directly over Discord and ask, in quotes, stupid questions, which would be totally fine.
That's a great suggestion as well. Enrique?
No, I just want to plus one that I think I like those sorts of sessions because it reduces the burden on individuals, because maybe individuals can't always make it. So having something like that, or something on a Slack channel, sorry, Discord channel, sorry, or like an optional coffee thing every couple of weeks where people can ask questions within the TAC, would be super useful.
Thank you. We'll set a goal for ourselves and see what we can improve in this area. That's a good call out and great ideas. Okay. So any other retrospection items that we should look at? So I see like one common area that which I'll also bring up in a while, um, as we speak through goal setting and planning for the year. A common theme that I found across several retrospection items as well as the nomination statements was around the uh, objective based or deterministic way of measuring projects' health. I know this has been a topic that like previously other TAC also has picked up, but we'll discuss that again. Any other topics that the TAC feels we should look at based on learnings from the last year? Okay, so I'll maybe volunteer one. So I know like the TOIP team liked the newly requested format for reporting their quarterly reviews or annual reports from the project team. However, with more such projects coming in, believe like there are areas that we can focus on in order to make it uh, welcoming to such projects and community into our ecosystem. Okay, so we'll we'll I'm sure like we'll again bring up a few of these discussion items. So what I'll want to do now is if you can all access the link that I have for I'm using like similar tool that Tracy used, the retro tool, and I would like TAC members to go there. So we'll do this in an interactive way, and I created sub themes around areas that um, I found from nomination statements, and we'll go through each theme one at a time and share our ideas and add in um, like what else we can do. So what you see already there is things that I could derive from nomination statements. So for instance, let's go into like contributor onboarding and mentorship. So I found this as a common theme from multiple TAC members. And what I saw was structured mentorship for project maintainers. I believe like this is similar to the idea that we had for the TAC members. For instance, when we have new project teams coming in, is there any way we can assist them to be onboarded into the community much sooner, or are there any challenges that those maintainers facing? How can we have them integrated soon and in a better way into the community? And how do we ensure like the project teams feel empowered to communicate with the rest of the other community members and talk to other people, bring what they wanted to bring from their um, project, or maybe collaborate in an efficient way? Those are the items, right? And similarly, I saw like common theme was also within that segment, um, recognition programs for contributors. Like, I'm not really sure like what um, the the proposal might there, but I believe um, this is also an area that we can discuss and move forward. So I guess like you get an idea. So the ones that you see there is kind of derived from nomination statements that I could infer. So let's go through this theme of contributor onboarding and mentorship, and feel free to add as we speak. But if you have anything to bring up, um, please bring them up around that theme. Matthew?
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that I think the contributor and maintainer communities It's kind of interesting. There's obviously a lot of work done by the TAC to at a project level to bring kind of consistencies. We had the task force for last year, and there are guidelines and best practices for certain things the project does. In a way, it feels like the maintainer communities around the projects can be much more diverse in how what their makeup is and how they run their projects day to day. It's one of the areas of across LFDT projects when I've observed them that has probably varied the most. The diversity of the way maintainers run the projects, how many there are, how the communities run some of their day-to-day ops, and so on. So I think it's interesting. It's an interesting area to kind of talk about in more detail. I think the mentorship side of that, I think that's a question for me. Is when you're then talking about mentorship, that feels like because again, my view would be that the way the maintainers and the makeup and so on across projects can be quite diverse. What mentoring looks like for project maintainers potentially looks quite different, or has different requirements or different aims across projects. And I think it was really interesting. So Sophie's presentation on Hyro was really interesting in terms of how they had kind of welcomed and embraced and encouraged a whole load of contributors. Certainly recognizing contributions would be really good. I know badges and things have been used in the past, and I do think those little kind of recognition things do go a long way to making communities feel the love, so to speak. I think Dana, you've got your hand.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought up Sophie's presentation on the good first issues, and I think combining what we traditionally call on the LF mentorship and the mentorship program that Nate Waddington runs, and very helpfully, and getting the maintainers more aware of that and helping them on board there is great, and a great structured way. I thought that was paid for some of them, but I'm not positive now that I see that bring back part. But I think that one of the things that I'd like to see is to take what the structure that we've used in Hyro, tweak it a bit, or genericize it a bit for good first issue tagging, and then try and do a little bit more outreach to other hackathons, and get and coach people in doing that in 2026. That's sort of one of, I think, our community goals, is to level up and share that information and help other people do that well, so that we can do consistent outreach to hackathons and other events where we can bring in new people. And then the follow-on to that is how do we maintain that relationship? Because as Sophie pointed out, and as we've all experienced, that even if you get someone to do good first issue, you then have to train them, you have to keep engaging with them, and that takes time and effort. And not all of the projects have maintainers with significant resources to do that kind of engagement. So trying to uncover how we could do that better in 2026 is sort of, I think, something that will help us all.
Thank you, Dan. So, Dan, yeah, I see you raised your hand again.
No, I think I was trying to lower it. Sorry.
No worries. So what I heard so far is like there are two areas. One in terms of I know, like mentorship program, as in the traditional way, bringing in new maintainers or new mentees to the project, and a lot of discussion that we are hearing so far is a guided mentorship program to the new project maintainers, and maybe putting up some guidelines around best practices that has worked for other projects and maybe discussing them as here are our recommendations for you to run your project within LFTT, right? I know, like by default, you may have heard of concepts called as um, a traditional sense committer, but here is a sub role as Sophie presented in one of the meeting, and we recommend you follow this within LFTT, and this has helped as well. So yes, I see like there are two tracks that are emerging from here. Thank you for all the input. Matthew?
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's worth inviting project maintainers to come onto TAC calls occasionally, outside of when they come to talk about project updates and so on, to just kind of give the TAC a bit of an insight into what their maintainer makeup is and how they're how active their community is in that regard, and just give them that forum to chat in a fairly relaxed way when it's not about a formal change to a project or a formal report. I think it could be beneficial if it's not, if it's a collection of projects coming to the same forum, because I think then they hear about each other, and I think that kind of can encourage some discussion about the topic. So I do wonder if that's something we could explore in reaching out to almost like maybe taking a half of one of the TAC calls to minimize kind of rescheduling and things. That's like a coffee chat with maintainers, just to get a feel for their views on things outside of the reports they write and so on.
It's a great suggestion. Thank you. With virtual meetings, we can always bring your own coffee sessions.
Yeah, if you ever meet Enrique and I, we're always happy for anything that involves coffee.
Thanks, Matthew. So I do see like one more item that kind of caught my attention in this segment or in this theme was around technical barriers. I thought like there were none, but I mean, seeing this is definitely something that means like there are things that we can improve. For newly proposed projects in the past year, what challenges have you seen, and do you see potential for us to look into some of the areas that we should tackle in that space? I'd like to hear from maybe like newly proposed projects in the last year or so. If there were any major hurdles that you had to face through, or anything that kept you for a while, Kevin?
The hurdles that the Minakawa project faced were internal organizational ones with Shielded in the Midnight Foundation regarding intellectual property and what we were actually signing up for. And technical ones, we have lots of bespoke technical GitHub actions that work on our internal repositories, and getting them to actually work on the public repository has been a headache. So I think that it's like a lot of like nitty gritty, what I would characterize as kind of technical things that engineers don't actually want to worry about, and we're forced to right now.
I hear you. Okay, for sure we can discuss these. Okay, and any other challenges or concerns that the new team faced? Were there any process delays, or were there any technical hurdles like onboarding your project or delays in getting something done because of
No, no, we're still working actually in our internal repository, and then I'm throwing code over the wall a few times a week to the public repository, which is a really awful way, both technically and morally, for us to be working. So
Thanks.
so we've done it in such a way that the team is relatively unimpacted, but we don't feel very good about it.
Enrique?
Yeah, I was really curious about that one. Just a question in terms of where the discussions happen, because sometimes one thing is the code lives in an open repository, but all the thinking, the collaboration, the discussions, the PR reviews, the architecture, sometimes is one of the most valuable things that you can get from a project to really understand what that project's about. Kevin, is that still happening behind closed doors and all the what the users are seeing are the open output of those discussions as code?
Yes, right now that's the case. This is why I say it's kind of a moral hazard. Like I don't feel very good about this at all.
Okay, and have you flagged this? Do you need any help from the TAC? I don't know. I think I'm sidetracking a little bit, but I'm just quite concerned about this one.
Yeah, I don't think we need help from the TAC. It's mostly an internal issue that our company Shield that pays us has to accept that we will be working in the open. So internally, we use Jira for ticketing and tracking work, and they just don't accept that there will be that the authoritative place that will be working for this project is GitHub. And I think it's just kind of continually telling them how we're going to work, demonstrating that we're going to work this way, and refusing to give ourselves a back door.
Okay, I think this may be some point of feedback for the TAC, right? Today, we document the project requirements. Maybe we have a missing section in there to talk about we talk about the licensing and where the code lives, but I feel like it's really important to talk about where the innovation is happening. And sometimes a lot of projects, it's not only Shielded, I think I've seen in other places where a lot of the innovation is happening behind closed doors and you only see the output. And that's, as you say, it's not the best approach for an open source project. So that might be something that we put into the guidelines and the ratings of projects as they move through the life cycle that we have.
If I could provide a very short history here of a very long, boring story. The first project that I worked on was open source in exactly that way. It was called All Scene Alliance, or it was called All Join, then All Scene Alliance. I was working at Qualcomm, and we had the exact same problem where the work was happening, the conversation, the decisions were happening within Qualcomm, and then it became public. Like the code was the artifact. And that really became like that tension became kind of the death knell of the project. It did not succeed, which is why I jumped onto Hyperledger. So I would really, my own personal experience here has led me to just counsel you to work through that more quickly, perhaps.
Thanks, Ryan.
Art, I also saw your message. Art.
Yeah, I just say like Kevin or anyone else with these issues, this is a fairly common thing. We see this happen quite a bit. You know, Rai just gave a good personal example of the drawbacks of taking this approach. We have many, many, many more at the LF. And if you think it's useful, we can, talk to management, talk to your management and try to convince them for you. So don't hesitate to reach out to staff if this is something that you think we can help you with. And that goes
Thanks
for
for that.
everyone, not just Kevin.
Awesome. Thanks, Art. Dan?
Yeah. So, and I was going to point out on the project growth and health, we don't really have anything about detailed figuring out the metricing the diversity of projects. And one of the things by going open source, the lessons that we've learned over the years is that the healthier the project is in terms of organizational diversity, the healthier the project is. And part of that is getting the infrastructure out into the open, as Kevin says. And I don't think I've been on a project that hasn't struggled with that in some way. But one of the ways that we can show management the benefits of being more open is by flagging the growth through open diversity in organizations that are participating in your project. So it all kind of melds together. And I think the one thing that over the past year we've recognized is maybe our reporting quarterly and annually on the actual metrics of part maintainers and contributors and end users might have been a little bit too much in depth or hard to have some uniformity in, but I really think reporting and at least having the tools to see that and to show management where someone from an outside organization has been able to contribute to your project is one of the key things in helping them get away from that, keep it internally and not supporting you in the process of working in the open.
That's a great input. Thanks, Dan. Kevin, I hope like these are some of the ideas that came in quickly in this meeting, and of course, like we will spend um, dedicated efforts through the year to further see what else can we do. Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for all the comments. That's just convinced me personally that we need to do it sooner rather than later. The longer we drag this out, the worse it'll be for us.
Thanks, Kevin. I know like we kind of jumped into the second theme area as we were speaking, but is the one last thing I wanted to bring up was about mentorship program. We do have one of the mentees joining us as TAC members, so I'm sure like there's a lot that we can learn from their experience participating within the project. And I wanted to like maybe propose at some point that we do have a task force or so in um, learn best ways we can further enhance that program, both from a mentee perspective as well as from project maintainers perspective. Yeah, I think we can jump into the second theme area, which is about project growth and health. We kind of discussed about diversity to bring in diversity and maybe making it a way of reporting in our reports, like calling it out so that management can see that. But yeah, any other thoughts or suggestions that we should focus on from projects growth and health perspective?
I feel like I'm talking a lot today, more than usual, but I've had coffee early, so I apologize. I think the one that's on the bottom, the cross-project collaboration, and I thought I heard some conversations in some of the white papers people were writing about creating even just visual tools, stacks of how the different projects already are being cross-used, and doing a little bit more work to highlight that. So how all of our projects do work together already. And then that will give us, I think, a stage to start looking at and showcasing where we could also do some collaboration because different projects use each other and depend on each other and have dependencies. So the not just encourage it, but I'd like to do some more work on the visuals around how the stacks are. I know Hart had some stuff around the ZKP stuff and the cryptography stuff, and Sean's doing some stuff in other in another space, but I haven't seen and maybe I'm just missing it, a really good how all of the pieces we already have work together or it can be integrated. And I'd like to see some more of that. And maybe that's, again, jumping over into white papers or technical explainers. But I think the cross-community, cross-project rather, collaboration, in order to avoid redundancy, we need to know how they already are inter-supportive of each other. And I'd like to see that in 2026.
Thank you, Diane. So that kind of calls out a couple of areas that we can focus on. One is purely from collaboration front is like, are there ways we can communicate to project teams, and what has become a de facto standard of how these projects are coming together and how they are being used. And at the same time, I think you called out on white papers and technical, um, what do we call, like the produced materials that we can have from the community. I think that's a great segue as well. Yeah, let's consider both these areas. So in terms of health and measuring, right? I know this has been a topic that keeps repeating itself. Of course, like as we improve, does TAC believe that there are areas that we should look into in the current year? I know like this question remains for the specification kind of projects, but other than that, are there things that we should look into?
Well, this is Diane again, and I think there is some ongoing work in the LFX Insights site that hopefully there'll be some improvements and it'll be a little bit more ready to be incorporated into the reports in 2026, but I haven't heard any updates on that. And maybe that could be something we could jointly do with the LFX or get an update from them in a future meeting from the Insights team.
Thank you. Dan? Oh,
Yeah, I just
thought I
wanted
saw.
to suggest exactly what Diane said afterwards. Like, we should invite maybe the LFX people because we would like to depend on insights, and having them here in the meeting, asking some questions, maybe getting feedback from them, what is their roadmap and plan, would be quite nice. Yeah.
Makes sense. Thanks, Henrik. So in the past, we did have LFX joining us. I believe we can work out with the staff and see what can be done there. That's a great input. So I see we have about 4 minutes in today's meeting, and I want us to keep flowing through these theme areas, and of course there's an open segment towards the end, which if you have any thoughts or things that we should bring in as a goal for this year, if it doesn't fall into any of these broader areas, we can put them in that. We'll continue this, but I'll also request TAC members, if you can do so, post your comments or inputs offline, and we can discuss again in our next meeting. Before we wrap today's meeting, I wanted a couple of things to be discussed. One was about annual report reviews. I saw Dan requested for a change, but if you have anything that you would like to focus on from available projects perspective, like if there is any project that interests you, please do let me know so that we can rearrange the current assignments. The second thing I wanted to bring up was about meeting time. I know like Kanchan has been consistently missing out on meetings because of the time zone difference. And the earliest time that works out for them is at 5 a.m. their local time, which is majority of the other TAC. It would be in the afternoon or in the evening. And I saw most of the TAC has agreed to that, saying that it works out well for them. So would it be fine for the TAC to have an alternating meeting schedule where we have 1 week and at this time, and maybe the the following week at a later time, which works for the other group of people?
I'd be happy to do that. I'm wondering if we could start that next week and do the later time next week.
I will try to make it happen if that's what the TAC wants. My only concern is whether or not we'll be able to have the same exact Zoom link, but I don't know that yet, so I'm going to try and figure it out.
Enrique?
So you're suggesting alternate times. I feel like how do we guarantee quorum? Because the fact that it's always the same time means that we have a higher probability of people joining. If we have different slots, then we already know some people can join, which means sometimes we might not have quorum, specifically for voting for things. Have we thought about that?
I suggest that the TAC takes up using GitVote, which Hyro is using, and I've been saying this for 10 years. I suggest the TAC rotate the meeting time by 8 hours a week so that everybody has one call kind of at the beginning of the day, one at the end of the day, and you're only expected to make 2 of 3 calls. So
I see. Okay. I'm up for that, the Git vote stuff. That sounds good.
I see Hendrik raised hand as well.
Yeah, and Jessica from LF has prepared all we do on Hyro and that, and even created some documentation, which is currently Hyro only, but I think we could easily move that to tech level, and I assume that Jessica can do the great introduction and tutorial on GitVote here in the tech again. Yeah, totally agree to move that forward. That's great.
Thank you, Hendrik. We'll try. We'll be cognizant of this concern that was brought up. I understand. I think this particular time proposal is maybe like only concerning to Rama, and he did mention on a thread in Discord that he can make it occasionally, maybe not possible on a recurrence basis. Okay.
well, tell me via email or in Discord what the rotating meeting time needs to be, if it's plus 12 hours from now or whatever. Just tell me and I will endeavor to make it happen.
Do you think we could agree to do that for next week so we could bring in the missing parties?
The decision is for the TAC. So can we all have thumbs up as an indicator to agree onto this proposal? So 3 thumbs up. Okay, I'll again ask the same question on Discord and ask for you all to thumbs up on that. If I see majority of the TAC agreeing to that, then let's do it from next week. Thanks, everyone. See you again in the next week.
Cheers. Thank